average gardener spends about 20 hours each month tending to its garden. But now in September, I am tired and I don't want to spend even 2 hours this month working in my garden. However, everything is full of color because I've been smart and I prepared for this lazy moment. Less work, more vibrant blooms, and more time spent enjoying the beauty of our gardens. First stop, the rebloomers. At the bottom of our tiny cottage, the mint is flowering again. I did a sort of Chelsea chop on it. I cut it almost to the ground in late June, and now she gives us new blooms, which I can definitely use in my bouquets. Don't be afraid to cut your mint early in June. I do this every year, and look! Another flush of flowers, and the fresh new leaves are delicious for my lemonade. And since we are in September, and this is wine country in my zone 6 in Romania, the vine is full of grapes. Let me show you. Our landlord planted in here the most fragrant of all grapevines, and it reminds me of my childhood. And in here, hidden among all my pots in the shed, the beautiful yarrow, Sky Say Yellow, is blooming again. She had her first flush in late June. I cut it down almost to the ground, and now she's sending up new shoots. Isn't she the cutest? And look at these leaves, they are so fresh and lovely. I'm super happy that yarrow is perennial in my zone 6 in Romania. These are grown in pots and I'm always overwintering them in the backyard with no cover. They are very frost resistant. And the leaves even keep up their shape and color during the milder winter months. And in here, super cute, my clematis is flowering again. She bloomed first in the month of May, and now she's blooming again, but very discreetly for the moment. This is Clematis piailu. It's from the second group. She blooms on old wood, and so I'm not really pruning her, almost never. And in front of my clematis, I have never ever showed you the Verbena bonariensis, which I simply adore. I adore it. This verbena is not hardy to my zone 6, so I overwinter it in the pot, but I take the pot down in my basement. I must say I do love a rebloomer because the second flush of flowers is just like a bonus. The plant has done its job previously in late spring, and now she just gifts us with one more round of beauty. So rebloomers are a smart choice. And now let's go to another group of plants, the late bloomers. Much like myself, they only come to bloom late in the season, not in the springtime of their life. And in here where I've got my teenage perennials, may I present to you Sedum Carl. It's a new addition to the bunch. It's very similar to the ubiquitous Autumn Joy sedum. It's semi-succulent and she blooms with these cute little blooms in September and October. This is quite drought tolerant. You just throw it and grow it. No watering, no fertilizing, and no staking. This is an awesome choice for a low maintenance garden. And since we are here in the teenage perennial section, may I just flaunt wow, the garden phlox, Catherine. I bought it as a little stub, this big, in early spring. She has the cutest little flowers and I hope that she will still bloom next year if I plant it in a semi-shady area, behind the shed actually. And also my dahlias have just started blooming. Princess Elizabeth, Arabian Nights, and Pineland Princess. I only get my first dahlias in September, and this year is my first time ever having dahlia blooms before September 20th. Although I'm starting the tubers indoors in March. Maybe next year I should try and start them in February. Now that's an idea, yeah. And what have we got here? The asters, not to be confused with the China asters. So this is the Michaelmas daisy, to be precise. I've got in here Island Samoa on purples with the yellow eye and the deep crimson brocade. Aster thrives with minimum care. I bought them as tiny babies, just like the sedum and the phlox, and they require full sun, so I intend to give them a permanent place next spring. I used to think that asters are invincible, but I learned two new things this year. One, that the slugs can crawl up and make the plants topple down, like this one. You can see it's like this. However, this one is straight. It's okay, I'm gonna repair this one as well right now. And secondly, that asters can get powdery mildew. They have a bad case of powdery mildew this year. So I'm gonna be much more careful next year on how I'm watering them. I'm gonna water them only at the roots. I do love my late bloomers. They don't require constant attention and they bloom right now at the end of the season. But I want to move on to another category, the heroes of 2025. flowers which have died off and came back from the dead. Sunflower in a pot. One plant, 14 blooms on it. Mwah! And I planted the seeds for this one on the 1st of April, if you can believe it. I planted it out in this pot along with her 5 other sisters, and my slugs and snails ate them all. They practically destroyed them. 2 of the sunflowers bloomed with very tiny flowers, and then they died. And when I was just about to put away the pot, this lady started to grow and grow and grow again like the phoenix, and now in mid-September she's gracing us with her 2nd flash of blooms. And rest assured, I've got even more sunflowers coming up. Look! Ta-da! Ready to bloom anytime soon. So more fall colors for me without any effort, because sunflowers is very carefree. She practically raises herself. And how about my Nicotiana? Nicotiana lime or tobacco flower. I also sowed it from seed on April 1st, and she was supposed to bloom in July. However, all 5 Nicotianas that I planted in here, the slugs ate them all. And in my mind I said goodbye to them. However, in August, one of them started to grow the rosette and grew higher and higher. And she was covered in these fragrant stalks of lime flowers. A super beauty. And since we are here, a bonus flower, the Dalmatian peach foxglove is still sending secondary shoots. Mwah! Of course, nothing screams low-maintenance garden as the heat-tolerant, drought-tolerant perennials, which I have here in pots. So any assortments of your echinaceas, of your perennial rudbeckia, agastache, and other prairie flowers will continue to bloom for you in September with no care at all. And of course, I'm not failing to mention the pine rose. Look! Rosa abietina. I do think it's very heat tolerant and very drought tolerant. For a rose, of course, because everything is relative. But I'm expecting blooms from her until late December, with no little care at all, except a little deadheading. Last but not least, my summer annuals are still blooming like crazy, because I was not in the rush to sow them. Most people sow them before their last frost. But I have been relying on my hardy annuals to give me color in the garden up until July. A place for snapdragons, pincushion flower, Icelandic poppies, and calendula. So I only planted the seeds of my zinnias, cosmos, gomphrena, celosia, and marigolds in the second half of May, almost a month after my last frost date in our zone 6 in Romania. No matter how tired I am in the beginning of fall, I still find the energy 5 minutes early in the morning to do a little tidy up in the garden. Click here to find out 3 things that I do every day to keep my garden thriving.